think we're here. Thank y'all for being patient. We had a little bit of technical difficulty here, but nobody's here? Well, look, you guys are here. We're going to pretend that everybody else is here, all right? And then when they go back, they can look at it and see what they need to do. Thank y'all for coming. This is really important to us. Some of it is, most of it probably is the same thing that you guys who've been before have seen. But as I say every time, I promised Samaritan's Purse that when we show up with a busload of people, everybody will be on the same page, and we've all heard all this stuff. And so when you misbehave, they feel better about disciplining you because you are being rebellious, not because you're ignorant. So that just gives me a lot of credibility, and I'm grateful for it. We really just want to run through some details to make sure that everybody is on the same page. For those of you who are just tuning in, if you can send Leslie a text, or if you can send her a note, let her know you're online, we'll know that we're all on the same page. This won't take that long, but just wanted to let you know that we're leaving this coming Saturday. We will leave at 9 o'clock from here, and you'll hear this several times through our presentation, but we will plan to be packed up, bus loaded, have our prayer time together, and be on the bus headed out by 9 o'clock. And the reason for that is that we have a pickup at Wildwood. We will pick up several people from Central Florida that will meet us there at the Wildwood TA truck stop, and our goal is to be there somewhere around 10:45-ish. So you guys that are traveling over to the TA, just kind of time it so that you'll get there somewhere around 10:45. That'll be very helpful to us. Let me just go through some common denominators here, things that all of us will need to know. One of the things is to just remind you of the challenges that this trip provides for us, and one of those is that we are representing Jesus Christ. So everything we do, everything we say, all of our body language, all of our fun conversations with each other, we want to be conscious of the fact that that is truly viewed by other people. When they see our shirts, when they see our bus with Beyond the Storm on it, or when they see Samaritan's Purse shirts, we first of all represent Jesus Christ, and we want to make sure that that's high priority for all of us. But secondly, you also represent Beyond the Storm. And the reason this is so important to us is that we're really seeking to build a ministry, a nationwide ministry that serves Samaritan's Purse, serves our Lord, and serves in disaster relief. And we want people to have good experiences with Beyond the Storm. And so when you have conversation with people, we just want you to remember that you are all that we are. You are Beyond the Storm. It's not me. It's not Leslie. It's not past teams. On this trip, you are Beyond the Storm. So just remember that our goal, as you've probably heard me say, but our goal is to create a network across the country of 500 people that are willing to be Beyond the Storm volunteers, so that on any given trip, I can put out a call and be pretty confident that we'll have 20 people within the first week or the first week and a half of an open deployment. So represent us in such a way that people will want to be a part of Beyond the Storm. And if you have to be a little bit selective in the things that you say about me, just pick the good things, all right? So that people will at least have up front have some kind of positive attitude. And then third, we represent Samaritan's Purse. Samaritan's Purse is, as far as I can tell, the largest, the most effective, and the most consistently deploying disaster relief ministry in America. And in any given deployment, there will be thousands of people that show up and wear an orange shirt, and this is changing the face of disaster relief response. And so what we want to do is to make sure that disaster relief has a positive impact upon people's lives, whether it's Samaritan's Purse, Beyond the Storm, or Jesus Christ. And we got a letter from a lady. I think you'll see a little bit more about it, but I got a letter from a lady that we worked on her house in Panama City the last time, and she said, please be sure to tell this team what an impact you have had upon us. And she actually sent a $100 check and said, use this to sponsor some volunteer to go again wherever you go. But the other side of that coin is that I had made a couple of phone calls to homeowners to try to arrange a time when we could go work for them. And because they didn't answer the phone calls, we came home before the week, when the week was over, without ever connecting with them. And I still get phone calls saying, when is Samaritan's Purse going to show up? When's Samaritan's Purse going to show up? And so even on our best day, it's hard to create the kind of confidence when you're having volunteers come in and out. And so what happens is that we end up turning those homeowners over to Samaritan's Purse, but because the number is so large, it could take weeks before they get back. And so all I'm really trying to say is just keep in mind that everything we do is not just for the week we're there, but it leaves a lasting impression. What people think of our Lord, what people think of Beyond the Storm, what people think of Samaritan's Purse. So that's really, really important. I don't make any apology for this, but I don't want anybody to be mistaken. This is intentionally Christian. It is intentionally Christian. There will be a constant flow of things Christ-centered. You will not be required to share your faith. One of the things that volunteers, particularly people who are not comfortable having public conversations about their walk with God, or without confidence in sharing their faith, they often think, you know what, I'm a little fearful. When you say this is intentionally Christian, does that mean I'm going to have to put myself on display? And the answer is no. You will not be required to share your faith, but you will have opportunities to do that. And if you want to, and if you're comfortable with it, we encourage you to. It's a great thing. What I say about it is that it is Leslie, it looks like I just lost control here. Can you hit that slide? Leslie, will you hit the computer slide? Somehow I just lost control. But what I want to say is, I think all you need to do is hit that next slide down, and then it should give me control again. That this is a safe place. Just be comfortable with that. That's where I want to be. There we go. I got it. Thank you very much. This is a safe place, and we want you to know that going in. We want everybody that's on this team. Several of you are brand new, have not been with us before, and you will find this very, very safe. There will be team meetings. You can ask anybody that's gone. There will be more team meetings than you can even imagine. There will be, it's not optional. These are required. The first couple nights you will say, really? Do we have to do this? And by the fourth night you will discover how fruitless that conversation really is, because yes, the answer is yes, you will. There will be morning devotions with Samaritan's Purse. We will have breakfast at 6:30, and then as soon as breakfast is over, there will be devotions that are usually led by the Billy Graham Rapid Response Team, the chaplains. We call them blue shirts, and you'll understand why that is, because they all wear blue shirts. But there will be morning devotions with Samaritan's Purse. In the evening, after dinner will be at 6 o'clock. There will be a share time with Samaritan's Purse. Typically, that's around 6:30, 6:45, and it'll be when the entire group is together, and people will be sharing what they've experienced throughout the day. It's a very precious time. Often there are homeowners that have been assisted by various Samaritan's Purse teams, and they'll come and have dinner with us, and you'll often hear them share the story of how grateful they are for the team that's done work for them. And then following all that, there will be a Beyond the Storm meeting. This Beyond the Storm meeting will be typically around 7:30, 7:40, 7:50. It'll be sometime in there. We can't tell you exactly what time it is because it comes after the share time, and if the share time goes long, then the meeting starts late. But what you can do is that any of you who have family and friends who would like to tune in for that Beyond the Storm team meeting in the evening, it will be broadcast just like Leslie was doing here. It'll be broadcast live, be live streamed on YouTube, and you can tell your family, you can tell your friends, just check in and watch the meeting. They're very, very inspirational to me, and I think a lot of people have found them to be inspirational as well. You'll get to hear what the team has done throughout the day, who we've met, how that we have had an impact in people's lives, and how they have impacted us. But you can just tell anybody that if they would go to YouTube and do a search for CrossBridge Church, CrossBridge Madeira Church, they'll find it there and can watch it. Just be sure if you're sharing that information that you remind them that the starting time is very fluid. So if they check in at 7:30 and we're not on, doesn't mean we're not going to do it. It just means that we are late getting started. If they check in at 8 o'clock and we're not doing it, then chances are something's happened to the internet or the connections have gone bad, because if we haven't started by 8 o'clock, typically it's not done. But Panama City, we have had good internet service both times we were there, and so the team meetings have been pretty easy to watch. The live stream has been good. So just know that there will be these team meetings. Let me just go through some things what to expect on this particular trip. Number one, you will be staying in close quarters. For those of you ladies who are watching, typically your close quarters are a lot closer than the men's close quarters. The deployment tends to change over time, and whether they've continued to put whether they continue to put all of us in the same places we have previously been, I don't know. The men have had usually a pretty large room. Women have had a very small room. That may or may not change, but you need to just expect that you're going to be in close quarters. In the women's room last time, there was about 12 inches between the mattresses and, okay, or less. About 8. Okay, there was about, Leslie says there were 8 inches between the mattresses. In the men's room, we had probably 6 feet between ours, but that's good because we needed it as a sound barrier, and I'm just saying. But you're going to find people in your space. That's the thing that you're going to be very much aware of. The bus, despite the fact that it's a big bus, 20 people on that bus will seem crowded, and we'll be crowded all week long. So just be prepared for that. You're also going to experience, if you've not ever been on a disaster relief trip, you're going to experience things that you have probably never had an opportunity to experience. The I've lost it all sense of hopelessness. What is different about Panama City, and you're going to see it this time even more than the last time, which was 8 weeks ago, and that was even worse than we saw it when we were there in November. The reality is that we are now almost 5 full months since this disaster hit. And there are people still living in tents, people still without any evidence that their house will ever be repaired or their yards will ever be cleaned up. There's a new layer of hopelessness that the people in Panama City are experiencing. There are a couple of things. Number one is that because all the municipalities have run out of funds, they have stopped picking up debris in the front of their houses. So now all the debris is being piled up, and the homeowners who were already devastated, whose finances were already depleted, are now having to find ways to and funds to have their debris removed. And it's just extremely frustrating. People are just really on edge. financially, emotionally. And then on top of all of that, I don't know if you've been watching the news, but they have recently encountered horrific forest fires, wildfires. And as much already about 500 acres within the Panama City area has been, Bay County has been burned. And this is just debris ready to ignite. And so this is, you're going to experience a level of frustration that is probably as great or maybe greater than any deployment we've ever been on. At the last deployment when we were there just a few weeks ago, I talked to a local police officer, and he said we cannot even begin to describe how tense this community is. He said we've had more shootings in the last since the hurricane than we have had in the last 10 years put together, and more crime. And it's a really incredible place, incredibly depressed and discouraged place. And you're going to experience that. It seems easy to talk about, but when you meet a homeowner whose eyes are glazed over and whose heart's melted, you're going to say, you know what, I don't know that I've ever experienced anything exactly like this. You need to expect that. It's going to be hard work. Mostly tree work. This is Hurricane Michael. It's wind damage. Those of you who've never been before, this won't make any difference, but it's completely unlike a flood or what we call a mud out, where in Nebraska right now, we just got a report today from Nebraska. Samaritan's Purse is talking about the fact that there are houses with water still in them, and the houses that do not have water in them have at least 4, 5, 6 inches of mud covering the entire floor, and that has to be cleaned out. They're sucking a lot of it out. I mean, it's a way different thing than a tree debris kind of thing. So most of what we're going to be doing is tree work, yards, houses that still have trees on top of them, roofs that still need to be tarped. By this time, even though there's not been any flooding, there's now more of an issue with mold, because so many houses had roofs that were breached and water flooded into the roof, and it started molding from the top down, unlike a mud out or a flood that comes mold from the bottom up. So we'll be doing some mold work or some demolding, but most part it's going to be tree work. I say this to everybody just because most of us have some kind of physical issues that say, I don't know if I'm up to that kind of work. And the reality is we just all work at our own pace, and you'll find this is not going to be something you can't do. It's not going to be harder than you can do. We've had people who work 15 minutes and rest 45, and then work 15 and rest 45. And then there's Dave, who works 8 and rests 8 hours and then rests for about 2 hours, and then he's ready to go again. But there are lots of us that really just have to pace ourselves. So don't be concerned about that. The temperatures probably are going to be in the upper 70s during the day. For those of you who were in Angleton, Texas, when it was 100, you'll appreciate the fact that it's going to be in the 70s. Today it was in mid-70s and rain in Panama City. The forecast calls for upper 70s by the weekend. Still some rain. Typically the evenings will be 60-ish. That won't matter because you won't be outside the building at night. And the truth is that the building is probably going to be in the 50s, because I'm telling you, this is the coldest place we have ever deployed. And they could have saved a little bit of money on not having the rooms quite so cold. But just be prepared for it. If you're typically cold-natured, you may want to bring a jacket. Sometimes the mornings are a little cool, and you may prefer to have a jacket. But if you're going to bring a jacket, don't bring your best jacket. Don't bring something that you're concerned about it getting dirty or whatever, because this will be dirty work. Your personal conduct, just some things that you need to remember. Number one, no alcohol, no tobacco or street drugs or things like that. They'll send us home in a heartbeat if any of these things are discovered. So If you smoke, or if you are accustomed to some alcohol, this would be a really good time for you to think, I'm going to break that habit, because it'd be a short trip if that isn't the truth. Language consistent with Christian testimony. You know what? Not all of you have broken through some of the bad habits of the past, and we understand that. But I'm only saying it because if in fact something were to be said, or something were to be communicated that isn't consistent with a Christian testimony, just be sure that we will gently and quietly and lovingly point that out to you and give you an opportunity to do better the next time. Modesty in dress. This is a Christian event, and you will say a little bit more about modesty in dress in a moment, but the reason it's here is that if you happen to wear something that isn't provided by us, a t-shirt or pants or a bandana or a hat or something, it should not have any graphics on it that in any way would be inconsistent with modesty and the Christian testimony. Respectful use of showers. This may be the most important thing I can tell you. We will be taking showers in shower trailers. They're very, very nice. They're very efficient and very effective. But unless they've brought more showers in, on the deployment at Panama City, there are 5 showers. And as during spring break, there were over 150 overnight volunteers. So if you can divide 150 into 5 showers, you can understand that if you take a long shower, your name's going to be mud. I can tell you right now, they're not going to be happy with you, and you'll see lines. There will be lines of people waiting to get a shower, and if you should take too long, you will have to be willing to accept the criticism when you walk out, because they'll be kind, but they'll be very, very clear. What that means is that they need to be short. And what we tell people is that the showers are for shower only. Women, you don't dry your hair in the shower. Men, you don't shave in the shower. There are restrooms. There are places for you to do that. You can do that in your sleeping quarters. But the shower is for shower only. And we have had, I say this every time, but we've had a couple of our volunteers before they left who actually began to time their showers at home to see if they could get the numbers down. And we had at least one lady who finally got hers down to about 6 minutes. Not all of us can do 6-minute showers. Some of us can't get the door locked in 6 minutes. But the issue is keep it short, shower only. And those of you who've been will know how important this is. But those who haven't, you'll learn this quickly. Short showers. Bring shower shoes, something you can wear in the shower. Even though these are cleaned every single day and they're cleaned after every shower, we will do a bit of cleaning when we finish our shower. We're not going to guarantee that you won't take something home that you didn't come with. So be sure you don't go barefooted in the shower stall or in the shower itself. Bring shower shoes. And then you'll need to understand that the showers are not that close to where you're staying. So you will need to wear modest clothes. Typically we go to the shower in the clothes we've been working in, but then when we get out, we need to be completely modest and covered when we go back to our room. Guys, no shirtless travel to the room. You'll be required to wear a shirt and shorts and whatever else, but going back to your room will require that you have some kind of cover-up when you go back. Sleeping quarters. Anticipate snoring. All right, I added this time, just because there appeared to be some people on the last deployment that were not anticipating this, and I think what surprised most of our women on the last trip is how much women snore. And it's not pretty. In fact, we had a lady on a deployment, a couple of deployments ago, that stayed awake all night making up songs to the different melodies of the women snoring. So just anticipate it. You don't be surprised by it. If you need to bring earplugs, bring earplugs. Sometimes in deployment they will have them available to us, but not always. Some people bring noise-canceling headphones, whatever you need to do, but just anticipate that this is not going to be like sleeping in your own private house where only a couple of you snore, all right? And anticipate close quarters. I've already suggested that. We're going to ask you to be sure you respect quiet time and lights out. Yes? I'm sorry? All right, thank you. Be sure we respect quiet time and lights out. Typically quiet, and these are set by Samaritan's Purse. Quiet time will be at 9 o'clock, and then lights out will be at 10. But here's where I need to make sure that our team is very much aware of how this impacts us. Our team meetings typically run all the way up to almost 9 o'clock. But nobody else on the campus will have a team meeting that late. And so a lot of people, because the work is hard and they go back exhausted, they'll be asleep by 8:30. So you're going into a room with sleeping quarters where people are already asleep. And sometimes it can be very annoying to them if we come in, we've just had a really great time, the Lord has blessed, and we've sensed the presence of God, and we're kind of all just on a spiritual high after our team meeting, and that happens a lot. There are just some really incredibly exciting things that happen as we've shared these details, but we're all high, and we go into a sleeping quarters where people have been asleep for a half hour, and they're not always happy with us. So we just ask you to be extremely respectful of quiet time and of lights out. In some cases, and it may be the case this time because the volunteer number is down a bit after spring break, it may be that all of our team will be in a room by themselves, which means that nobody's going to be sleeping, that we're all going to be in the same boat. But I can't guarantee that. Typically, it's not quite as much true for ladies as it is for men. I think our last couple of days in Panama City, too, we had the whole room to ourselves, and so that may or may not be the case. But you're going to ask you to be respectful of that. Attitudes that I need from you, remember these words. I need you to be patient. I need you to be flexible. And I need your cooperation. It's easy to say that, and it's easy to emphasize the fact that this is true now, but only when you're there and on the job and realizing the things that are going to occur while we're there. I may have to remind you often. Listen, I ask you to be patient, I ask you to be flexible, and I ask for your cooperation. Patience because you're not always going to be busy. I mean, you think, you know what, I gave up a week to come here and do this, and I'm sitting here waiting to do a job, and that may be because we can't start a job until a homeowner is on site, and they don't work on our schedule. And so as a team lead, I'll call a homeowner and I'll say, hey, listen, we want to start your house today. And they say, what time? And I'll say, we'll be there at 8:30. And they could show up anywhere from 8:30 to 9 o'clock, and we will sit there and wait on them. Sometimes we need to make decisions about particular tasks that require us to call back and get some an opinion from our supervisors on the job, and sometimes we'll just say, stop, wait. This last deployment, we were on a house, I think probably Wednesday, working on a house, and all of a sudden we smelled gas and had to evacuate the house and wait outside while we called the gas company. They came and shut it off and affirmed that it was safe to work. And so you're just sitting during those times. So patience. Flexibility in the sense that we may say, okay, let's do this, and we get a little bit into it and discover, wow, that's not exactly going to work that way. Let's do something different, or let's do it differently. And cooperation means that you will not always agree with what you've been asked to do. And I'll share that with a little bit more. We need you to be helping, but not demanding, in the sense that you may have a better idea. You may have a better idea, but you may not understand the dynamic on a team deployment, that your idea may be better than all of our ideas, but SP may have said, this is the way we're going to do it. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in a minute. You can offer suggestions, but be respectful. And what we're going to say, typically our teams are at an advantage in the sense that we take our own team leads with us. Ken Osborne, 7, is a team lead. I'm a team lead, which means Samaritan's Purse has trained us in the way they want things done. So typically, if you have a suggestion, you're going to be able to bring it to somebody you know. There have been some occasions where they've divided us up and given us team leads that you do not know. And in those cases, if you have an idea, you would want to express it to a team lead, but be very respectful for the fact that they may not have options. Explain that in a minute. Some of the tasks will seem unnecessary. Let me go through this whole list and I'll tell you what all this means. Some of them will seem temporary. Some of them are questionable. And some of them may involve periods of waiting. But here's what you need to know. The scope of the work is called by SP. Before we ever show up at a homeowner's house, an assessor from Samaritan's Purse has already been to that house. They've walked through with the homeowner, and they have decided what work would be done, how it would be done, and what would not be done. So you look at something and say, well, wait a minute, why are we doing this and not this? It doesn't make any sense to us. All those things that I just said a moment ago, it may seem unnecessary, it may seem questionable. The scope of that work is on a work order that Samaritan's Purse gives to us. The method, how it is to be done, is determined by Samaritan's Purse. You'll see this particularly when we come to tarping roofs, things like that, when you see how we take drywall out, how we remove floors, how we take cabinets out. How we do those things is prescribed and determined by Samaritan's Purse. You may have a better idea, and your idea may work way better, but we may not have the option of saying, let's do it that way, because the methods are determined by Samaritan's Purse. The end result is prescribed by Samaritan's Purse. In other words, when we go to a homeowner, they have already told them what will be done and what will not be done and what it will look like when we leave. And that'll come to play in a minute. And Samaritan's Purse will tell us when we have done what we're supposed to do. I say this almost every time, but we learned a lesson. This is probably 10 deployments ago. We were in Andrews, South Carolina, and we were relatively new at this, and we thought we had done an absolutely immaculate job. It was a house, a 2-story house, and the floodwaters had flooded the first story, gotten into the second story, and so we had stripped everything out, and we were so proud of ourselves. I mean, there was not a nail on a stud. The floor was swept clean. It really, really looked nice, and so we're walking away thinking, wow, we've really done a great job here. And the program manager, who was in charge of the entire deployment there, came out and looked at the house and called us aside, and he said, hey, guys, you're not done. And we said, what do you mean? We've done everything. And he said, you left a piece of insulation in the rafter back in the far corner. You need to go get it. because we're not leaving here until that's done. And we walked back in, and it was a piece just about that big that we had overlooked up in the rafter, or the joist, floor joist. And he wasn't kidding. He was saying, we have a saying here. It's called SP quality, and you're not done until you've reached SP quality. As team leads, that's our responsibility to make sure that's done. And sometimes you'll look at it and say, are you serious? You want me to sweep this floor again after we've done all this? Are you serious? You found one nail back in the back room? And the answer is, we're not done until SP says we're done. So just get used to that. Here's your highest priorities. This may be the most important things I will share with you. Number one, as I already said, your highest priority is to reflect Christ. But number two, you are to love on and to attend to homeowners. That's the most important thing you will do. More important than pulling nails or taking up floor, more important than cutting trees down and hauling them to the street, more important than raking leaves or branches from the yard, is how we minister to a homeowner. Samaritan's Purse will tell you straight on, and you will see it when we get there. Every single volunteer will have to go through an orientation with Samaritan's Purse, and you'll hear them say over and over and over, you are the hands and feet of Jesus. We want to see our homeowners, if they do not have a relationship with Christ, we want to see them come to know Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. And so we're going to say that you need to stop and listen to the homeowner, and you need to stay engaged. Now, this will seem kind of redundant, or at least not all that significant, but what you're going to find is that homeowners will typically be on site almost every day we work there. And they'll tell you the same story over and over and over. They'll tell you where they were when the hurricane hit. They'll tell you which room they were in when the house came crashing down. They'll tell you the story. You'll hear it 3 or 4 or 5 times. And just to be honest with you, when you've got a task to do and you're all engaged in that, your mind will wander and you will drift. Your eyes will fail to make contact, and you'll forget that you are there to stay engaged and listen, no matter how many times they tell you that story, because that's therapeutic for them. That's a part of the healing process, to just say it over and over and over. And make your attention constant. I'll say that I think it's now work safe. That's high priority. We will probably be doing a lot of chainsaw work on this deployment, and working around chainsaws, particularly for people, not necessarily the people who are operating chainsaws, but the people who are working around those with chainsaws. It's easy to become careless, and we're going to just constantly harp at a 5-foot rule. You never, ever get closer than 5 feet to somebody that is using a chainsaw. You never walk up and tap them on the shoulder. In fact, what we say, if you need to get somebody's attention, if you've got a stick and it's 5 feet long, you can tap them on the shoulder with a stick. But working safe, particularly around chainsaws, and not just that, but the guy who's using a chainsaw can't always predict where a tree's going to fall, and sometimes it's 20 feet from where you are. This work safe thing is a really big deal, and Samaritan's Purse will probably tell you they've had some very serious accidents working around chainsaws, working on deployment. So we're going to attempt to work safe. But the last thing on this highest priority is to love, respect, and encourage your team members. One of the things that makes what we do different than what anybody else in the country does with regard to disaster relief is that we go as a team, we act as a team, we function in terms of our interaction with each other as a team. And we're going to expect that. In fact, we're going to be, those who've been before will already have some idea of how this works. But the moment the door shuts on the bus, before we ever get where we're going, we will begin to build a sense of team. The reason we wear black shirts, the reason we all will wear black shirts, the reason I gave you black shirts is not to set ourselves apart from Samaritan's Purse, but it's to set ourselves apart as a team. And it's part of what we do. And I will want you to love and respect and encourage your team members. This last deployment was unique in the sense that we had probably more broken team members than I've ever had in any one team ever. Ladies who had, 3 of whom had recently lost husbands to either divorce or death. One had lost a son. One was struggling with illness in their family. There's just so much brokenness. And the thing that just Leslie and I came back and said that last trip may have been in many ways the most unique and the most satisfying, not because we did a lot of work for homeowners, but because of the way the team nurtured each other. It was just absolutely incredible. And these guys who were on it will tell you that that last trip was just amazing. We just fell in love with each other. And that takes intentionality. And so we're asking you to go with the idea that you are not alone. On this trip, we will have 20 people. You will be one of 20. And we want you to love and respect and encourage your team members no matter what. Let me close with this. Well, not close, but let me just, this section of it, let me close. What you do not do. These things I need you to remember. I need you to remember, do not make any promises. Here's what happens often if you build a relationship with a homeowner, or you're talking to a homeowner, and we as a team lead, we've not given you instructions to say, okay, we're going to take this shed down. But the homeowner says, listen, I'm concerned about that shed. I don't have any way to get it down. And the tendency is to say, you would look at it and you say, you know what? In 2 hours, we could have that thing down. We could do it. And what we've had is team members make a promise to a homeowner. You know what? Yeah, I'm sure we can take that down. And then you come to a team lead and say, you know what? I just told them we could take it down. And what you wouldn't know is that the assessor knows that there's some compelling reason why we can't get near that shed. And you wouldn't know that, but the only thing the homeowner will remember is that we broke our promise. And so what we are saying to you is, do not make any promises. In fact, listen closely, do not even promise that someone will contact them to discuss their needs. Because the truth is, we're there for a week. Samaritan's Purse has now been there since October. They've had over 3,000 volunteers come in and out. Can you imagine the things 3,000 volunteers could have promised? And most of those promises would have been broken. So we're just asking you, do not make any promises of anything. Don't even promise a return contact. What you can say, when a homeowner says, hey, listen, can y'all just get this down out of my attic, or can y'all just do this? Your statement is this, and memorize it and say it every time. I will make mention of this to my team lead. That's all I can promise. And then do that. Let us know. There are times when things aren't on the work order that a team lead can look at and say, you know what, yeah, we can do this without getting permission from SP, or we can call in and say, hey, listen, can we do this? We had a guy in our, when we were in Albany, actually, I don't know, you were there, when we were in Albany, we had a guy who was a pastor on staff at a church, local church, and we were working next door to his house, and he came over and he said, hey, listen, can y'all just take that tree down? Just one tree. It's just a little tree. can y'all take it down? And the answer is, have you called in? Do you have a work order? And he said, no, I don't have a work order, but I just need that tree down. And the answer, and I said very kindly, listen, I'm sorry, we're not allowed to do it. We don't have a work order. But then what I did was I called back to our supervisor and I said, hey, listen, Dave, I've got a guy. He's a staff member at a local church. I think this is good PR for Samaritan's Purse. And it's going to take me 15 minutes. Can I write a work order and take his tree down? And his answer was, yes, if you think you can do it safely, do it. So we wrote a work order. Took us 15 minutes. We took his tree down. He was as happy as he could be. But it didn't start with somebody promising him that we would. It started with somebody saying, hey, Rick, he asked if we could do it, and I called in and we got permission. So don't make any promises. Secondly, and this one is new. I just added this one this time because I'm seeing a lot of this. Do not offer any agreement to any criticisms of anyone, any government agency, or any other DR group. Here's what's happening. FEMA is coming in and has such a bad reputation that your homeowner is going to want to fill your ear full of reasons why you should hate FEMA. And if you agree with any of that, you have simply compounded the problem. It's not that we don't agree with it. Listen, off the record, behind closed doors, and online to people who are watching, I'm just telling you, FEMA is a total disaster. We worked on a house for a lady who was 84 years old, could not live in her house because it was filled with mold and because it was in total shambles. And FEMA came in. She had no insurance. FEMA came to her and said, here's $2,000, live in it. And it was so heartbreaking. We were able to clean up the house and take care of it for her. Her church was going to come back in and put drywall in it. But I'm not a fan of FEMA. But you may hear that, but don't you ever let a homeowner say that. There are other disaster relief groups. Rubicon is a disaster relief group that's made up of retired military guys. They're not Christian. They just have a heart to do things for people. But they're a pretty ragged group of people, and they've come in and not always had a good reputation, and we would end up on a homeowner's site where Rubicon has come in, not done well, and they want to fill your ear with some kind of negative things about Rubicon, or there are a ton of these agencies. All I'm asking, please, never, ever even hint that you agree with what they're saying. You don't have to be disrespectful, but your response is, listen, you know what, I can't speak for anybody else. I don't know why those kind of things happen. All I know is that we're here and we're going to give you our very best. And be sure that that's something you do. Do not take pictures without permission. Here's the deal. We're very comfortable with taking pictures, and a lot of you will want to post your pictures on Facebook. A lot of us want to post pictures on Facebook. We have an official Beyond the Storm site, Facebook page. We will want to post pictures. But if you have been living in a tent, or if you've been living with Uncle Harry and there's 15 of you in a 2-bedroom house, you're probably not looking your best, and you're probably not eager to have your picture posted all over Facebook. And so what we're saying is that before we take pictures, we must get permission. And typically a homeowner will give it to you. We will ask, hey, Martha, can we take some pictures? And they'll almost always say yes. But we've had some say, yeah, I don't know, my hair's not fixed and all that kind of stuff. Just do not take pictures without permission. Okay? And if you have a question, come to me or come to Ken Osborne, Ken 7, and ask him, is it okay? And we will find out whether it is. Next, do not accept any souvenirs. I can't stress this enough. Here's what happens on deployment. A homeowner will be so grateful that we have come and served them that they will want to give tokens of appreciation. And they'll end up giving away things that 6 months from now they'll regret they gave away. And our tendency is to think, well, you know what, I'm doing them a favor by taking it because this is an act of their generosity. But 6 months from now or 5 months from now, when they go to look for this thing and they don't have it, and they remember that one of the volunteers took it, they will not remember that they gave it to them. They'll remember that it's gone. And it sours the entire relationship. And I've had this happen so many times. And so we just say, you know what, no matter what they offer you, graciously say, no, we're not here to take servant souvenirs. We're not here to receive expressions of gratitude. We're here to just tell you that Jesus loves you. We're here to serve you, and thank you for your offer, but no. And if they insist and you feel like that it's somehow hurtful or harmful to them for us not to take it, tell them, I need to get permission from my team lead. And then you can come and ask me or ask Ken Seven, and we'll make a decision. But I have gone back to our van. A couple of our early trips we used to take in vans. I've gone back to the van and discovered all kinds of souvenirs from homeowners that we served. And it's extremely hard. I tell everybody this. We were in Baxter Springs, Kansas, and we were doing we're working for a homeowner. The gentleman had died, not as a result of the tornado, but he had died probably 6 months before, but he was a tool salesman. And he had a house filled with tools. I mean, literally filled. His wife hadn't disposed of them yet. Tornado came through, completely destroyed the house, and now all of his tools are in the driveway. And the hardest thing for me, who loves tools, is to take all those tools and set them out on the street, knowing that somebody was going to come by and steal them at night. But the truth is, we are not doing our Lord a favor or Beyond the Storm or Samaritan's Purse by saying, you know what, nobody's going to miss them. They're going to be thrown away. We'll take them. Do not accept souvenirs. And this is the hardest one maybe of all. Do not call debris garbage or trash. When a homeowner is watching you carry out everything they own, and you're looking at it because it's a cup broken in half, or it's a picture filled with mud or whatever, and you're looking at it and it's garbage or trash. And we talk amongst ourselves, we talk about garbage and trash, hey, take this load of garbage out. But the truth is that if you're a homeowner and you're hearing your stuff called garbage or you're hearing it called trash, it's another dagger in the heart of their woundedness. So we train ourselves to call debris, to just speak of debris. Now, the truth is that we often forget this, and any one of us are subject to forgetting it. So when we catch each other saying, take this garbage out, or take this, put it on the trash pile, or whatever, just very gently remind, you know what, it's not trash. It's their precious possessions. That's called debris. And so just remember that. All right. Any questions about anything that I've said? If you are online, if you have any questions, you can text, or you can comment on the YouTube feed there. Anybody have any questions before we move on what to pack and things like that? You getting any questions? Leslie? All right, let's go through what to pack. You already know this. You'll want to bring a sleeping bag and or a sheet and a pillow. And if you are cold-natured, you may want to bring a blanket for sleeping. We will sleep on the floor. I will tell you this, if you're using an air mattress, You may want to bring an extra blanket. Concrete floors tend to get really, really cold, even in the room is not cold, and it just seems to transfer right through the air mattress, and it can be extremely cold. So we encourage people, if you're sleeping on an air mattress, you may want to put a blanket under the bed just to make it a little warmer. Cots are fine, or mats or whatever. We are going to sleep on the floor. But if you do that, it must be a twin size. I wish you'd seen some of the things that people have wanted to take. We were in Crestwood, Missouri, where it was 22 below zero almost all week long. And I'm telling you, our team got out because I hadn't made this clear, and they put their bed up. One of them had a queen size that had a headboard on it, an air mattress, queen size with a headboard, and it took the place of 3 other beds. And so it's just, I've exaggerated this, but I just can't tell you enough. Whatever you take needs to be twin size. If you're using air mattresses, we recommend that you use a high top, 16, 18, 20, 22 inch. These are available through, you can get them at Walmart. I buy mine from Amazon. I can get them, if you don't have one and you need one, I can get you one in 2 days. They're typically around $50, $55. Well worth the investment. What we found is that they don't necessarily sleep any better than a 10-inch mattress. It's just that they're not nearly as close to the floor, so that when you have worked all day and your legs are tired and you tend to cramp easy, it's a lot harder to get up from 10 inches off of the floor than it is to get up from 22 inches off the floor. So we just encourage, if you're going to take a twin mattress, blow-up mattress, you might want to consider a high top. I actually have probably 2 or 3 high top mattresses under the bus that are not being used, and if you don't have one and you want to use ours, you're welcome to it. The only difference is I won't let you take it home when we're done, but they're clean and they're plenty serviceable, and so if you want to use mine, if you'll text Leslie or make a note to Leslie, you need one? Okay, make sure she knows that before we leave, and we'll give you one of them. But if you're online watching and you need a mattress, we can take care of it. Some of us are, this time I'm switching to a cot, not because I like cots better, but in close quarters, it's easier to put your stuff under a cot, which you can't do under a mattress. They're not significantly more expensive, not any more comfortable, but if you haven't bought either one, you may want to consider a cot, but make sure it's twin size. Okay. Some of us are using cots with a 10-inch air foam or air mattress on it, just because we're old. But we recommend that. You'll want to bring towels and washcloths for 6 days. There won't be any place to do laundry. There will be no place to do laundry. You'll want to bring toiletries, including soap and shampoo. You'll want to bring driver's license or picture ID. You'll want to bring an insurance card if you have it. You'll want to bring a credit card or a debit card, but that's totally optional. You will not need to buy anything. Everything is covered on this trip, so you don't need to worry about any of that. You may want a flashlight because when lights go out, lights are out, and they don't come back on until 6 o'clock in the morning, and some of us are accustomed to needing to get up a number of times throughout the night, and you may want a flashlight. Clothes that you will need. You will want something that's easy to wash and dry, preferably something that you don't care if it gets ruined. Hurricane wind damage is not quite as dirty as mud outs. Typically mud outs, we have on a mud out, it would be impossible for you to wear a pair of jeans 2 days in a row. Sometimes with these you can, but we just ask you bring 6 pairs of work jeans or work clothes because you don't know that you're not going to get them too dirty to wear. So we ask you to do that. you will wear Samaritan's Purse shirts on the work site. This is a requirement. They will give you 2. You say, wait a minute, let me figure this. I'm going to work maybe Sunday afternoon, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's 6 days, and they gave me 2 shirts. Yep, welcome to the world of disaster relief. What happens? One of 2 things happens. In this deployment, there have been some ladies at the church. We're staying at City Church at Northside, which used to be First Baptist, but there's some ladies at church who have volunteered to wash our shirts at the end of the day. And so you'll see a big bucket, and you'll bring your shirt back, your Samaritan's Purse shirt. You'll put it in the bucket. You'll wear the other one the next day, and by the time we come back from our next day at work, your shirt will be clean. Yes? Be sure you put your name on it, and be sure that your name is unique. You'd be surprised at how many Jims and Daves and Johns and Randys there are on deployment. And so you'll need to make sure it's unique. But in Panama City 2, there was a whole pile of shirts that got left because people didn't check on them. And so if you were willing to wear Willie's shirt, you could pick up one and have one. But so sometimes we'll be able to have them washed. If not, what happens is at the end of the first day, you take your shirt into the bathroom, wash it out in the sink, hang it up to dry, and by the end of the next day when you're ready to go to work, it'll be clean. But you'll wear SP shirts. You will wear black Beyond the Storm shirts every single day, every other time when you're not wearing a Samaritan's Purse shirt. I've given you guys 2. You guys who've been before, I'll give we were wearing red when you were with us before, so we'll give you 2 new black ones. For those of you who've been before, I'll give you 1 new black one. And it typically, because we don't get them dirty, you'll wear one on the bus trip up, you'll wear it to church on Sunday morning, and then you'll wear a black shirt every night after you take a shower, and we'll wear the black shirt on the way home. And you can usually make 2 of them easily work throughout the week. As I said, this is not to set us apart. It's to give us a sense of team and give us an opportunity to be questioned on the trip up, on the trip back. When we stop, eat lunch or whatever, people will often come up to you because they're all dressed alike, and they say, what's that about? And it gives you a chance to say, you know what, we're the hands and feet of Jesus going to help people in Panama City. So we'll give you 2 of those shirts. If you've already been, we'll give you 1 more. You must wear long pants. This is a requirement. Just because scratches and cuts, especially when you're working around mold or disaster sites that have been closed up for a while, the danger of infection is just too much, and we really just require you to wear long pants. I will say this, just because you'll ask me, why did I say this? Samaritan's Purse allows people to come in and work what they call day labor. And they'll come in, check in the morning, and they'll work till afternoon. They don't stay for dinner. And as long as they're dressed modestly, they'll let them go out and work. And you'll see people on the job site in shorts. This long pants rule is not a Samaritan's Purse rule. It's my rule. And if I was running Samaritan's Purse, I'd make it a Samaritan's Purse rule. But we just find it's safer this way. You can, if you wish, wear shorts any other time. I don't care. And after you take a shower, if you're more comfortable in shorts, you can wear shorts in the evening. You can wear shorts on the trip up, on the trip back. But when we are on the job, you must wear long pants. We will supply work gloves. There will be plenty of those, and you will not need to bring your own gloves. You will need sturdy, hard-soled work shoes. They don't have to be steel-toed, but debris puncture is the #1 accident or #1 injury on a deployment site. And I think I put it on here. They don't need to be steeled or even high-toed, but do not plan to wear tennis shoes. Now, let me just automatically say there have been some exceptions, and this is, again, not a hard and firm rule. Samaritan's Purse has no statement at all other than you can't wear flip-flops. I want you to wear hard-soled shoes. If you have a medical reason for not doing it, we're not going to require a certificate from your doctor, but I am going to ask you to justify not wearing hard-soled shoes because it's a high risk. All right. In fact, some people are not accustomed to wearing socks. You will want to wear socks on a job site. In fact, we even recommend that you wear double socks, but that's up to you. Health medical items. If you have prescriptions, be sure you bring enough that if you lose a day's worth, you got another one, okay? We've had diabetics go and have just enough insulin for the week, and something happens to one of their vials, and then we're really in a mess. We've had to go get prescription. Anyway, this can be a pain, so be sure that you are covered in the event that something happens. Sunscreen, if you need a specific kind, typically we will have sunscreen available, but some people say, no, I need something different or whatever. Again, bring shower shoes. If you have not had a tetanus shot, you've got 4 days to get one because you will need a tetanus shot within the last 10 years. Last thing we want you to do is to be scratched and end up with some kind of lockjaw or something else because you didn't have a tetanus shot. So if you haven't had one, nobody's going to ask you. I'm not asking to see a certificate. You're on your own honor at this point, but I need you to have one. All right. Any questions about anything? What to pack? What you need to know, what I didn't cover? Anything? All right, we're on the home stretch. Trip specifics. Again, I say we're leaving here at 9 o'clock. Dave somewhere thought he saw that I had printed that we were leaving. Okay. That's probably looking at an old one. When we left to go to Fort Myers, we left at 12 o'clock. I don't know. But in any event, whatever you may have read, it's immaterial. We're leaving at 9 o'clock on Saturday. Yes? The answer to the question of will the wildfire in Bay County have anything to do with our trip? I'm going to say likely not. If the only possibility would be if the fire had burned some of the homeowners that we had work orders for, we would be redirected away from there. The other possibility is that looking at it on television, there is a pretty serious smoke cloud in the area. And once you guys see it, those have been there before, we're talking hundreds of miles of trees. It's a wildfire waiting to happen. And so, as I said, over 500 acres have already been burned. It's possible that you will smell smoke. If you have severe allergy to smoke or if you have breathing problems, we will have masks that you can wear, so it should have no significant impact upon us at all. All right? Just so you know this, again, we're leaving at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning. If you want to, we'll be here from 6 to 9, probably before that and maybe even after, but we'll be here Friday night, and you can bring your luggage over and put it under the bus if you want to. The bus will be sitting right out here. If God is gracious to us, it'll be sitting right out here, and you can load it if you want. Don't have to, but if you're going to load it on Saturday morning, then you probably want to come about 8:15 or so we can get on it. We want to be out of here at 9 o'clock. All right, if you are in Central Florida, we're going to pick you up at the TA truck stop right at 10:45. Don't be surprised by this. Typically what happens is that we will pull into the fuel island while you guys are all over on the east side of the parking lot. Don't come to us. Pull in on the fuel island and I fuel up, and then I'll pull around to where you are. So just wait where you are until I come around and pick you up. They get a little squirrely when we have all these team volunteers out on the fuel island with a bunch of wild-eyed truckers out there. And so just stay over there until I come pick you up. Eat breakfast before you come. Eat breakfast before you come, and pack a lunch. Whatever you want, you can pack a lunch. We will not stop for breakfast or lunch, so you will want to do that. We will have snacks and drinks galore. You will be able to fill yourself up with snacks and drinks if you want, but we won't have lunch. We will have dinner together, which I will take care of Saturday night, so we will have that. It will be provided. We're probably, this trip, not going to eat until we get to Panama City. And the reason for that is that we have at least one of our team members flying in to Panama City. Jill, I don't know if you're online or not, but we're eager to see you, and we're going to pick you up at City Church and then take you to dinner with us. So we're not going to eat so we can pick up our last team member and go to dinner together. The only thing that means is it's about a 6.5, 7 hour trip. So whatever you need to eat prior to arrival, bring it with you, other than the snacks we have. Bring a blanket and a pillow for the bus. The interesting thing is, we've discovered this. If you come to church here, people always say it's cold in here. We've discovered that people they get angry when they get hot. They get grouchy when they get cold. And we prefer grouchy to angry. So the bus will be cold, I can tell you right now. You think I'm kidding, but the truth is, I worked my way through college working in surgery, and the reality is that hospitals are notoriously cold, and the reason is people get angry when they are hot. They get grouchy when they're cold, and we prefer grouchy. So just bring a blanket, a pillow for the bus, and anything else that you may want. You're welcome to carry a carry-on bag on the bus. We are not in the habit of stopping so you can get something out from under the bus that you wished you had put up there, unless it happens to be a life-saving medication. And that's it. That's everything that you need to know about this trip. Any questions here? Anything that you need to know? Anybody online before we sign off? Again, I apologize for the late. Hey, Jill, we're eager to eat with you. In fact, we're going to let you pick the place. So, I'm sorry? Yeah, it needs to be a nice place. So anyway, we're going to come pick you up, and we'll connect with you. Stephanie, if you're still on there, for you guys, Jill's coming from Wisconsin. We'll fly into Panama City to be on our team. She flew down here the last time, but it's a 12-hour flight for her to get down here, and so she's flying into Panama City. Stephanie is from upstate New York, and she's going to fly in and ride the bus with us, and so we're eager to have you also, Stephanie. We've got some other new people that you'll get a chance to meet, those of you who've been before, and it's going to be a great trip. I'm really, really excited. Any other questions online before we go? Let me apologize again for the delay. I don't know exactly how that happened or why, but thank you guys for being patient. Thank you guys for coming and being patient. Make sure we get your shirts. And if you have any other questions, be sure you ask. I will ask all of you to be praying with us. Our bus, right this moment, is still in the shop in Winter Garden. And we know that the bill is going to be right at $20,000 to fix this bus. And they promised me that I would have it back by Wednesday. So you keep praying. It's a really big deal. The differential's out of it, and just a lot of things that we're getting fixed. So just pray that the bus is back and ready to go, because it's key to the trip. We're not taking the airplane. We're not taking the airplane. We'd love to take the airplane. Maybe Franklin will fly down and get us, you know. I will say that you're going at a really good time. Even though we're nearing the end of the deployment, spring break is over. And during spring break, they had hundreds of volunteers. And now the volunteer pool is low. And as of today, there were 260 work orders still open. And they're finishing about 15 a week. So they're a long way from being done. And they hope to wrap up by April the 20th. So they're going to be expecting a lot from us, and we're happy to be a part of it. Let's pray. Father, thank you for the opportunity to serve you. Samaritan's Purse has taught us this, and it is resonated with our spirit every single deployment, that we have the opportunity to be the hands and the feet of Jesus. We have the opportunity to represent you, to represent Beyond the Storm, and to represent Samaritan's Purse. And our goal is to change the life, restore hope, restore life to homeowners, and to build a sense of team that will bring us home different than when we left. And I'm just asking you, Lord, to make that happen, because it will honor you, and we give ourselves to you for it. I do pray that you will intercede and intervene in this whole ABC motor coach bus issue. I'm praying, Lord, that the parts arrived and that the installation goes as it should, and that we literally can have our bus back in time to make this trip. It would be heartbreaking to not be able to do that. So we're asking you to make it happen and provide the resources to do it. And for all of that, we thank you because we love you. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you. Good night, everybody online. Thank you, all of you. Good night. Make sure you got your shirts, and let's go home.